My name is Scott Higgins, student number 2101259, and this is my gameplay prototype. My gameplay mechanic is based off of card games as well as 3D beat-em-ups. I have merged these two ideas together, as I enjoy both of these, both the gameplay style and the hobby. My main inspiration were card games like Magic the Gathering, as well as games like Yakuza and Overwatch. For testing, I use Average Analytics in combination with a Google feedback form, which I would send out along with builds of my game. I would use this data for Average Analytics to see how often players used certain interactions. For instance, how often a player would fireball, or if a player ever at all fireballed. Using the combination of both, I can see how players feel about the mechanics as well as how they perform. For instance, if a player does not use a certain mechanic, why do they not use it? For instance, the Nova ability. In my first playable prototype that I sent out, the Nova ability was rarely getting used, if at all, as players did not find a use for it, as the Fireball ability cost no mana whatsoever originally, and it took a fair amount of time to build up that mana, which is represented by the blue bar in the bottom left. So using this feedback, I nerfed the Fireball as players found it overpowered, and buffed the amount of mana you get by adding in these mana crystals. These increase your mana by a set amount when collected. For development, I feel that in the beginning I had my mechanic built up to unrealistic standards, but I stripped it down to be realistic with this term's goal, and got the basic mechanics. My original mechanic would have a deck building system as well as multiple other cards, whereas in this I have 4 different abilities instead of the original planned 8 or so. There was no finite number. For what I feel went well, I feel that it's very hard to commentate. For what I think went well, I feel like I have improved my understanding for creating a 3D game throughout this term, as well as understanding how to implement ideas in my own way rather than relying on online resources exclusively, as I have before. I felt that I didn't get to achieve what I originally wanted, as I had my ideas way too high. But for right now, I am content with what I have made. For the future, how I would improve my prototype, I would start by adding more abilities on top of what is already there, as abilities are the core mechanic of my game. So I would go back and add in the abilities I could not get implemented or could not figure out how to implement. I would also like to do an inventory system to be able to manage the cards and somewhat deck build. where this fits in the modern landscape of gaming. In its current state, it is very bare bones and would just sink in with everything else, really. But if I were to add more depth and a tiny bit more complexity to it, I feel like it would be unique and be able to stand on its own two legs. Thank you for watching.